Ale macie są odcinki z tego, ale to nie
Uh, okay, dear students, good morning all. Uh, Anyone unmute yourself and tell me, am I audible or not, and the screen is visible or not? Anyone?
Yes,
Am I-
sir.
Okay, so the screen is also visible. So I'll just repeat the topic what we have seen in the last lecture. Okay, maybe in a short, and then we will see the next one. In the last lecture, we have seen gate drive circuit for MOSFET. Okay, so that already we have seen. Okay, all are requested to mute yourself so that disturbances may be avoided. So everyone mute yourself whenever required. You can unmute and you can ask. Okay, but unmute, sorry, mute at all times. Whenever required, only that time you can unmute. Thank you. So in the last lecture, we have seen gate drive circuit for MOSFET, right? And gate drive circuits are very similar as like SCR triggering that you can use, maybe a UJT triggering circuit or any other circuit to trigger the MOSFET. But at the same time, there will be an additional requirement in a MOSFET that is given here. Okay, if you see this first one, it is a very simple. Only two resistors are connected in a gate drive circuit, and voltage across R2, or select the value of R2 in such a way that the voltage across R2 should be greater than VTH. Okay, so your device may turns on. That we have already seen. Then next one is directly you can apply the output of MCU, microcontroller unit. Okay, so you can directly use a microcontroller based gate drive circuit. So output of this microcontroller is a 3.3 volt. Okay, so you can directly apply it to the MOSFET, gate of MOSFET, and with the help of programming, you can control the triggering or maybe firing angle of this particular MOSFET. It means when to on, when to off the MOSFET. So we can control with the help of programming in a microcontroller. One disadvantage of this circuit, the output of microcontroller is 3.3 volt. So if suppose you are using a MOSFET having a higher voltage rating than this one, that is VTH. If it is greater than 3.3 volt, you cannot use this your MCU directly to trigger the MOSFET, right? So another option that is given in this one, this circuit again consists of a microcontroller. This triangle or a symbol of op-amp, actually it's a microcontroller or it's a IC. So there will be a booster, voltage booster circuit, so that the output of controller may be a 3.3 volt to 5 volt maximum. Some controller has a 5 volt output, but still the MOSFET, if you are using for high power rating, then VTH of that MOSFET is definitely greater than 5 volt. Okay, so in that situation, voltage boosting is required. So this type of arrangement is given called drive voltage conversion. So 5 volt to 15 volt conversion is done, and that voltage is applied to the gate of final MOSFET. Okay. So in this circuit there are two MOSFET. The first one is it is just used as a switch, and second is the actual power MOSFET, which is used in a power circuit, right? So this first MOSFET turns on whenever the positive pulse is applied to the gate of this MOSFET, having maybe voltage level of 5 volt. So the first MOSFET is a low power MOSFET. Whenever this MOSFET is on, that time the gate voltage, the second MOSFET is 0. Okay. But if the MOSFET is off, the high voltage 15 volt is applied to the gate of second MOSFET. So second MOSFET is actually a power MOSFET. So the voltage of this MOSFET is up to the 15 volt. So if the VTH is greater than 5 volt, then such type of arrangement is required. Okay, that already we have seen. Then, as we know that the switching characteristics of MOSFET, uh, definitely the time, that is switching time, that is on time, off time, is large for the power devices or maybe a MOSFET. So to increase the switch on and switch off time, increase it means fast switching. So to decrease the on time and off time, so that the switching speed is more, you can say. Okay. So to decrease the on time, off time, the time required to on the MOSFET, time required to off the MOSFET, that is required. So for that purpose, some additional circuitry is given. So that is already we have seen. One capacitor and resistor is connected, that is in series with the gate signal. Now, because of this capacitance, it is a low value capacitance. So this capacitor is short circuited when your input changes from 0 to 5 volt, because that time the change of voltage is very large. Directly you are changing voltage from 0 to 1, right? So that time the capacitive reactance of this capacitor C is a very small. So direct voltage is applied to the gate of MOSFET, right? And second advantage, the gate capacitance and this capacitance comes into the series. So series combination is equal to C1 into C2 divided by C1 plus C2. And if you are selecting the value of this C with a smaller value, then the effect of gate capacitance is largely reduced, so that the turn on time, rise time, you can control. Even fault time also you can control. So rise time, fault time, definitely we can control with the help of this arrangement, right? It has some disadvantages, so that is overcome in the next one, that is called totem pole gate drive circuit, or you can say push pull transistor configuration for drive circuit. What is the advantage of this? The transistors, NPN and PNP transistors, normally BJT has a medium input impedance but very low output impedance. That is advantageous. So that advantage is used to reduce the off time. Okay, that is called delay time or off time. So what happens actually in this figure, the capacitor C is again used, which is connected between the gate and comparator input. Comparator, the one input terminal of comparator is from the gate voltage, another is a actual applied voltage, right? So in this particular figure, if you see the the basis of BJTs are controlled by the output of comparator, whereby the output of comparator is depends on the gate voltage of N channel MOSFET and input voltage. Okay, see the capacitor C. What is the function of this capacitor C? The feedback capacitor C regulate the rise time and fall time of the gate voltage. Okay, so this capacitor is used to reduce the gate capacitance. So automatically what happens? The rise time and fall time is reduced. That is the advantages. So that's why the capacitor is connected in series with the gate. Okay, then when the output switches from low voltage to high voltage, see, output switches from low voltage to high voltage, the output at gate of MOSFET is switched to high voltage rapidly because of low output impedance of NPN transistor and capacitor value. See what is the meaning of that. The comparator, the output of comparator switches from low to high. It is in open circuit configuration, or you can say open loop configuration. So if the input at Vin is greater than the positive terminal of comparator, your op-amp goes into the negative saturation. And if negative voltage Vin is less than the voltage at positive terminal of op-amp, your op-amp goes into the positive saturation. The comparator, this is a comparator. So comparator is always connected in an open loop configuration. So output of comparator is either positive saturation or negative saturation. Okay. So remember this thing. So what is the meaning of this sentence? When the output switches, output of comparator switches from low voltage to high voltage, the output at the gate of a MOSFET is switched to high voltage rapidly because of low output impedance of NPN BJT and capacitor value. See here, this NPN BJT. Okay, whenever the output of comparator is positive VSAT, the NPN transistor turns on, right? And whenever the output of comparator is negative VSAT, PNP transistor is turns on. So as per the statement, if the output switches from low to high, NPN transistor turns on, and because of this transistor turns on, the output impedance of the transistor, that is BJT NPN, is very low, so that the capacitor C, and because of the output impedance, actually this output impedance is but the resistor connected in a series with the MOSFET. So that value of resistor is very low, and the capacitor value. So that what happens? The gate current immediately flow, and overall turn on time reduces. This is the advantages of this totem pole. See, again I read the same sentence. When the output switches from low voltage to high voltage, the output at the gate of MOSFET is switched to high voltage rapidly. This is important, rapidly, because low output impedance of NPN BJT and capacitor value. See, I'll again show you the same figure, this one. Okay, see, this is actually a R, and this is the capacitor C, right? So what happens actually, whenever in this particular circuit, the value of this RG is not equal to 0, right? So what happens? The switch when input voltage switches from 0 to 5 volt or high, this capacitor is at the short circuit, right? But this value RG is not equal to 0. If this RG is not equal to 0, so it required, or it drops some voltage, so time required to turn on the MOSFET is definitely large, right? So this RG is replaced with NPN transistor, right? So NPN transistor acts as a RG during on time, and PNP transistor acts as a RG during turn off time. So remember this thing, because of this totem pole arrangement, the one transistor is on when the output of comparator is positive VSAT. It would maintain the output resistance is ideally 0, practically very small, which is definitely less than RG. And so that the turn on time of this MOSFET is reduces. See the last sentence. When the output changes from high to low voltage, right? Again, this is the output of comparator, changes from high to low voltage, the output at the gate of MOSFET switch to low voltage rapidly. Again, because of low output impedance of PNP BJT and capacitor value. So capacitor and the transistor NPN and PNP, which are used during, one is used in on time during, and another is during off time. So the diode, that is the last sentence, the diode connected across the MOSFET is simply for protection circuit. But these two sentences, sentence number 3 and 4 is important, so that you can easily understand the working of totem pole gate drive circuit. Okay. So any doubt in a totem pole gate drive circuit, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will go for the next one. Okay, one more thing I want to share with you. On Saturday, I have conducted a meeting, that is tutor meeting with the T2 batch. A very less number of students joined the tutor meeting. So definitely your problems you cannot share with your teachers if you are not attending the meeting. So you should attend the meeting and address your problems so that we can try to solve your problems. Many students who join the meeting uh, told me that the connection problem during the lecture is large, and because of that they are not able to uh, join the lectures in time. That is a disadvantage of this system, I know that. But still, if you are having any problem, because actually I have tried to switch to the Microsoft team, but when I conducted lecture on Microsoft team, only 25 students joined the meeting. Still today is a 53 stem. Actually the class strength is 82. So those are attending this lecture. uh, Inform your friends those are not attending the lectures. So lectures is compulsory. At the same time we are taking a screenshot of your lecture, so those are present, I'll taking screenshot 4 to 5 times in 1 hour. So whatever number of students are present, their attendance is marked physically, right? So your present is must. Any problem regarding the teaching or connection problem or any other problem, you can ask to your teachers. Even many times I told you, you can raise your hands, you can unmute yourself and ask me, or you can even send the message on WhatsApp. I'll try to solve your problems. And even you can directly call me. Okay. After every lecture, I upload the videos on YouTube, the response on that particular channel, because I shared the link. So in the last 2 lectures, I have not uploaded on YouTube because the response is not that much good from your side. If you are not viewing that video lecture, then why we should upload the lectures on YouTube, right? So if you are having any problem, you can view that video. You can definitely help that videos to understand the concept. I know that during this particular 40 minutes lecture, uh, we the teachers trying to complete the syllabus. At the same time, our aim is not only to complete the syllabus, but your understanding is also important, right? So understanding is most important. If you are not uh, understand the syllabus or topic during this 40 minutes, you can watch the videos and you can read the PPTs. You can pause that videos, you can read the PPTs. Even PPT I will share with you. But uh, whatever topics, whatever sentence that is required, so you can repeatedly listen. One more thing, some students have arises the problem of connection. So I request you all to update your Zoom. Otherwise, uninstall the Zoom and reinstall your Zoom software so that your connection problem may be reduces. So Zoom is updated by the application designer after every 8 to 10 days or 15 days. So it need to update. If you're not updating, then definitely the connection problems may arise. So I request you all, once you uninstall your Zoom and then again reinstall, if suppose it faces the problem of connection. Okay. So that is one thing. And another, from today after this lecture, I'll share you some assignments on your group. So you have to write that assignments in your notebook, uh, then scan the note that particular assignments, make the PDF and send on to the my personal WhatsApp number, or even you can send on my mail ID. I'll share you mail ID. That is good for everyone because it keep for longer time. So you share your assignments on uh, my mail ID. So I'll share you mail ID after this lecture. Okay. So next one is microcontroller based digital firing circuit. Okay. So this particular circuit which is in front of you is a microcontroller based. microcontroller base or maybe a microprocessor base. Basically, it is a microprocessor base, but same type of arrangement is required. I'll explain you what is the maybe the connections for microcontroller microprocessor. Basically, it is a microprocessor base because we are using here 8085 microprocessor. All right, and if you are using a microcontroller, only 8255 is not required in this circuit. Okay, because 8255 is interfacing circuit. In 8085 there will be a no input output ports, so we require additional circuitry called as 8255, which is peripheral interface. So this parallel peripheral interface is required uh, in microprocessor, that is not required with a microcontroller. That is advantage of microcontroller, because microcontroller itself has input output ports. So, or maybe a simply interfacing ports, we can say. So it is a small difference. If you are using microcontroller, this ROM and RAM is not required, and 8255 is also not required, because every microcontroller has its own RAM and ROM. So that is a memory actually. So if memory is there, then we don't require any external memory, because 8085 is a microprocessor which basically doesn't have any RAM, ROM, then ports, etc. So if you are connecting microprocessor, then you require 8255 RAM, ROM, etc. And if it is a microcontroller, then this RAM, ROM, and 8255 is not required. So it is a smaller difference. But the examination, the question asked examination is on microprocessor base. So keep this circuit with you. This will be asked in examination. That is a microprocessor based digital firing circuit. Okay. So I have written microcontroller in my slide, but actually it is a microprocessor. Okay. So that is my mistake, that I have written here a microcontroller. So see this circuit, microprocessor. This is actually a display unit, RAM, ROM, keyboard, and interrupts or interfaces. Then 8255 is required, that is a peripheral interface. Then AND gate, a stable multivibrator, ZCD, zero crossing detector. Then there will be a uh, driver circuit, that is a transistor, and then there will be a relay. And finally, the output of this relay is a gate, that is gate with respect to cathode. So it is actually a firing pulse. So one firing pulse is produced. So this firing pulse may be applied to the SCR, right? So we are considering that these gate pulses are applied to the SCR, but see the last part of this figure, G and K, that is the gate pulse with respect to cathode, right? So this remaining circuit is required to produce appropriate firing pulses to the SCR, right? Firing pulses means what? First of all, uh, what kind of pulses are required? That should be important. So the pulses having maybe a sufficient amplitude and sufficient time duration, so that the SCR maybe turns on properly. Keep this in mind and remember this theme forever, because it is very important that the triggering pulses or gate pulses which are we are actually applying to the MOSFET, SCR, TRIAC, and so on. So how maybe what type of pulses is required? So the amplitude of that pulse should be proper, so that the SCR or MOSFET or maybe a TRIAC or IGBT, any power device, may turns on properly, right? Now, if you see the MOSFET, the amplitude of a gate pulse should be greater than VTH. If you are using IGBT, the amplitude of a gate pulse should be greater than VTH, right? Otherwise, the devices never turns on. Similarly, for SCR and TRIAC, the amplitude of a gate pulse should be sufficiently large so that the power device may turns on, right? So that is required. Then second thing, the time duration, right? If you are applying a very short pulse, then sometimes the device may turns on, sometimes device maybe remains off, right? It never turns on, because the duration of triggering pulse also required sufficient time period, right? If you are applying very small triggering pulse, then definitely your devices sometimes maybe false triggering takes place, or other times the devices will never turns on, right? So the amplitude and the pulse width should be, see, I have shared with this figure with you, that is fast switch on MOSFET switching circuit. I think slide in front of you is changed or not, I don't know. But in this particular circuit, I have shown the triggering pulse, right? So amplitude of triggering pulse as well as the time period, both is important. Okay. So remember, okay. So triggering pulses which are applied to the power devices must be having sufficient amplitude and time period. So remember this thing, that is important. Now, with the help of this microprocessor and other circuitry, we can produce a proper triggering pulses for the SCR, right? What happens exactly in this circuit? I'll explain you with the help of next slide, that is waveforms, right? So this waveform means then ZCD pulses, firing pulses generated by microprocessor, then astable multivibrator, output of AND gate, and the last one, that is gate cathode pulses. Okay. So in this particular circuit, if you see that the SCR, that is basically trigger the SCR, or maybe any other power device we can use to uh, trigger. We as per maybe in this particular example, we consider that the gate pulses are applied to the SCR. So the above circuit is used to trigger the SCR in every positive half cycle of supply voltage. That is a mains, right? So mains is given as an input to the ZCD. This ZCD is a zero crossing indicator. As we know that the output of ZCD is maybe definitely a square wave. So the ZCD circuit produces pulses, that is either positive saturation or negative saturation at the output of ZCD. Then the ZCD pulses given to the programmable parallel interface, that is a PPI or 8255, right? So because there is a no input port to the microprocessor, so if you want to apply some input to the microprocessor, you can apply through PPI. Even you can take output of microprocessor through PPI. So the output of ZCD applied to the microprocessor, then microprocessor will decide whatever the firing angle is required according to the input given from the keypad. Okay. So or keyboard, you can apply maybe a triggering pulses of 30-degree firing angle, 40-degree firing angle, and so on. This basically ZCD simply converts your sine wave into square wave and given to the 8255, right? So if you see the output, the ZCD pulses are applied, maybe given to the 8255, then firing pulses generated by microprocessor. So microprocessor will decide when to produce the firing pulses. If you see here in your figure in front of you, so this firing angle is approximately equal to 60-degree, because there are total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 divisions are there. Total is a 180. So approximately one division is equal to 180 divided by 6, right? So approximately 30-degree, right? So 30 and 30, that is a 60-degree. So triggering pulses are applied here after 60-degree, right? Then triggering pulses are applied. These triggering pulses are applied, actually generated by microprocessor, and again feed to the 8255, right? And after that 8255, that pulses are given to the AND gate. Okay. So AND gate, one input terminal of AND gate is connected to the astable multivibrator and another to the 8255. So if the firing pulses that is generated by a microprocessor is high and astral multivibrator is pulses, so that time only the output of AND gate is high, right? So such type of pulses are applied to the output of AND gate pulse firing pulses, and these pulses are applied to the base of transistor, that is transistor in front of you. So that is in previous figure, right? This transistor, NPN transistor. So the output of gate pulses are applied to the base of transistor, and then through this particular transformer, or maybe you can say relay configuration, the pulses are actually applied to the SCR, right? So this is the output of waveforms and a microprocessor based triggering circuit. Okay, so these are the all about the drive circuits, right? Now, next one is cooling and heatsink, right? So first part of this unit, that is gate drive circuits, base drive circuits, or maybe a different driving circuits are there. Now next part is protections, basically protections of a power devices. So in this circuit, cooling and heatsink is given. Next, maybe half part of this particular uh, topic is 1 minute. Okay, so half part of this particular topic is voltage or maybe a current protections, right? So your power devices should be protected from three different sources. One is temperature, another is uh, high voltage spikes, right? And then high current spike or maybe a current. So there are three different sources that may damage your power devices. One is excessive heat that is produced inside the device during switch on and off time. And second one is sometimes during on time, if suppose any high voltage pulse is applied to the device, your device may damage, right? See what I am telling you, when we are applying to voltage, that is to the gate voltage or maybe a anode voltage to the SCR or drain voltage to the MOSFET and so on. Sometimes it happens, whatever the constant AC voltage we are applying to these devices, uh, as we all know that at your home even the line voltage may varies due to any reason, because line voltage is approximately 230 to 240 volt, but it never gives a constant voltage. So our home appliances are also made to handle the voltage from 200 to 240 or 250 volt, because it continuously varying, right? So we required the protections to the power devices so that our power devices can protect from such high voltage spikes, right? Then uh, high current, right? Many times it happens that current through the power devices is large or excessive, and because of that the device may damage. So we should protect. Even at our home we are using fuse to protect our home appliances from any high current fluctuation, right? So fuses are used to protect our devices from high current fluctuations. Okay, so similarly in power devices we are using some fuses which are connected in series with the power devices, so that power devices are protected from any high current fluctuation. Okay, so these are the three different major sources which may damage your power devices. So we required uh, cooling techniques or heat sinks to protect our power devices from excessive temperature, right? Right, okay, or temperature increases due to increase in a voltage or increase in a current, or your device is turns or for longer time and so on, right? So uh, to protect our devices from any excessive heat, normally we are using heat sinks. If you see the power devices, normally I have shown you the photograph of power devices while uh, teaching the SCR, MOSFET, etc. So every power devices are always comes with some heat sinks, right? So heat sinks are required. Heat sink basically is a metal part on which your power devices are mounted, so that the power, that is excessive heat generated inside the power device, that may be dissipated at the atmosphere or here through these heat sinks, right? So the heat produced by semiconductor devices need to be dissipated effectively so that the temperature of device is within the temperature operating limits at all the times. Okay, because as we know that safe operating area for power devices already we learn. So in that safe operating area, the maximum current handling capacity, maximum voltage handling capacity, and even maximum temperature handling capacity is already seen, right? So due to switch on state and switching losses, heat is generated. The power semiconductor device, within a power semiconductor device, the heat has to be transferred away from the device to the cooling medium so that the junction temperature of device can be maintained within the defined range. So it is required to dissipate the power or maybe a heavy temperature generated inside the device. So although heat can be transferred by three different method, that is conduction, convection, then radiation. So these are the three different techniques that is adopted by the power device itself, right? So heat may be transferred through the conduction, then through the convection and through the radiation. Even if you see that any device, when it is in on state, if you simply touch to the device, that device is heated, right? So that device heated, it means it radiates the temperature outside the maybe device through that particular case, right? So that is called basically radiation, or sometimes by using natural method, or sometimes by using force air convection, right? So these are the techniques which are used to protect power devices from heavy temperature, right? This is basically the equivalent diagram of a heat sink, right? This is a PA, which is called as a power loss, average power loss in a device. This TJ is called as a junction temperature, TC is called as a case temperature, then TS is called as a sink temperature, and then TA is called as a ambient temperature. So exactly what happens, your device is connected or maybe basically generate the temperature at the junction, right? The temperature is generated due to the movement of electrons and holes at the junction. So whatever the movement of electron and holes at the junction, according that the temperature will be increase, right? So that junction temperature is transferred to the case. Case, it means the body of that device, right? So whatever temperature generated inside the device, that is transferred to the case. If you seen the transistor, that is BC547, that I think you might have learned in the second year, and BC108 or maybe SL100. So if you have seen this transistor, BC547 is a plastic based transistor, but BC108 or SL100 are the uh, metal case transistor. So the metal case transistor has a high temperature handling capacity because their collector itself is a body. Okay, so whatever temperature generated inside the device, that is called junction temperature, right? Normally temperature generated at the junction because of movement of electrons and holes, right? So that temperature is transferred to the case through this RJC. This is actually a resistance between thermal resistance between junction and case, right? So if this resistance is large, then temperature cannot be transferred. So this junction, this resistance called as a thermal resistance between junction and case should be small. So normally the case is a metal and directly connected to the junction, so that this resistance is very small. But this is a resistance, thermal resistance, we can say, thermal resistance between junction temperature and case temperature. Okay, so